Time for our update on Hurricane Fiona, a major hurricane forecast to intensify a bit more over the coming couple of days here. Want to talk to you about this one. We'll focus on this right now. That center with the 8 a.m. update on Tuesday morning had the position about 10 miles to the northwest of Grand Turk, and we're going to continue to watch this moving off to the north-northwest. It's starting to make more of that turn to the north, and eventually it will go to the north-northeast. Here is that 8 o'clock advisory. Again, you can see how it's set to move off to the north and eventually turn more to the northeast. Interest in Bermuda, really want to pay close attention. We're hoping that this maybe goes a little farther to the west and Bermuda is spared, but it looks like it's going to be close enough to give that island a good brush as it comes through. Talking about some very violent winds potentially, with winds expected Friday morning around 2 a.m. to be near 130 miles per hour. And that's going to be on the right front quadrant of this system as it's moving by this way. So we will need to watch that carefully, and then it will eventually turn off to the north as it continues off. For our area, again, this is so far off to the east that the wind and the rain, it's going to be farther to the east. So we're not worried about that, but it's also going to generate a lot of wave action for the East Coast. So there's going to be a very high threat of rip currents as we get later this week and into the upcoming weekend along the mid-Atlantic. And there may even be some beach erosion with some of the waves and the surf building as we go later this week. So we're going to be watching for that very, very carefully. Now, the computer models very close in agreement as they have been for days on the track. So there's really not much chance that this is going to go any farther to the west or come closer to our coast. That's good news. Again, Bermuda, we are concerned with this system for that island as it moves on and eventually up towards, you can see Halifax, that area up into the north. But for our area, the mid-Atlantic, this one doesn't seem to be too much of a direct threat. Now, as we take a look, a couple other areas we're watching, okay? One of these likely to become Gaston, probably this one off to the north. It's a bit of a fish storm as it's going to eventually head to the north and the northeast, but the chances for development, 80% off to the north. Down here, though, approaching the Caribbean, this is the one I am more concerned with as far as the U.S. interests go. There's a 10% chance of development within the next couple of days, and then a 50% chance for development out 3 to 5 days. And if the models are correct, we could have a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico as we get into the end of next week or maybe the following weekend. So something we're definitely going to watch very closely. You take a look again, here's Fiona, and this is the futurecast based on the European model. You can see how it moves along there. And then we watch this next system coming into play in the Caribbean. It tracks across the Caribbean, and the Euro kind of brings it over in this general direction. And then eventually it starts to turn it back up into the eastern Gulf of Mexico. Again, this is through next Tuesday, but if we were to continue it, it would show up by the end of next week somewhere in here. So something we're watching. Now with the American model, this is the GFS, similar solution. Again, Fiona tracks off to the north. Here comes this next area that we're going to want to watch, and this is what we're really keying on here as we get into the following weekend and early next week. You can see how it tracks along, and the GFS kind of brings it up on the Gulf side of the Florida coastline there. So we're going to be watching that as we get into, this is Thursday, the 29th of September. And again, these are just how the models are looking right now. That far out, a lot can change. But I do encourage you to stay updated if you have interest here along the coast. And potentially, as this works northward, it could mean a lot of heavy rain for the southeast and potentially, eventually, up through the mid-Atlantic. So we're going to continue to watch this. We will keep you updated. Be sure and check back for the latest on Fiona and these other potential developing systems.